At 0230 local time, the Russian Ropucha-class landing ship Novocherkassk sat tied to the pier in the port of Feodosia. Deep within the heavily fortified lines of the Crimean Peninsula, the vessel was functioning less like a warship and more like a floating powder keg. Deep inside its massive cargo holds sat thousands of Iranian-designed Shahed 136 one-way attack drones and hundreds of tons of high explosives, a lethal payload destined for the front lines to terrorize power grids and troop concentrations. The crew of roughly 87 sailors slept in their berths or stood routine watches, operating under the assumption that the umbrella of advanced air defense systems surrounding the port made them untouchable. They did not know that a mathematical certainty was already screaming toward them through the dark winter sky. Unknown to anyone walking the steel decks of that ship, a strike package was already in the air, carrying a weapon that would soon trigger a detonation so absolute it would shatter windows across the entire city and leave nothing behind but an empty scorch mark on the concrete pier where a massive warship used to be. Roughly 45 minutes earlier, deep inside Ukrainian-controlled airspace, a pair of Su-24 frontline bombers had slipped off a darkened runway, flying dangerously low to avoid early warning radars. Slung under the wing of the lead aircraft was a Storm Shadow cruise missile, a nearly 3,000-pound Anglo-French bunker buster engineered specifically to dismantle high-value, heavily fortified targets. The Ukrainian pilots knew their window of opportunity was brutally narrow. They had to fly just close enough to the shifting front lines to release the weapon without catching a surface-to-air missile in their own faces. At the precise launch coordinate, the bomber popped up, acquiring a fleeting satellite fix, and the weapons officer hit the release. The Storm Shadow dropped away, its turbojet engine roaring to life and instantly driving the missile down into the weeds. By the time Russian long-range radar operators registered a momentary flicker on their screens, the Ukrainian bomber had already banked hard into a defensive dive and vanished. The Russian operators stared at the ghost track, knowing something was in the air, but lacking the continuous data to engage it. The first layer of their invincible defense had just been bypassed in under 60 seconds. Before we continue, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. If you look here at the Storm Shadow as it glides mere meters above the freezing Black Sea, you will see a weapon that does not rely on brute speed to survive. Instead, it relies on an obsessive level of geographic memory. The missile travels at high subsonic speeds, roughly Mach 0.8, which is not nearly fast enough to outrun a modern interceptor if it gets spotted. To compensate, its navigation system operates like a burglar with a photographic memory sneaking through a house in the pitch black. It uses terrain reference navigation, constantly comparing the ground slipping beneath it against a preloaded three-dimensional topographic map. It does not fly over hills, it flies around them. It threads its way through valleys and skirts along the coastline, intentionally putting physical Earth between itself and the searching radar beams of the Russian S-400 batteries stationed in Crimea. For 20 minutes, the missile hunted its way east, completely silent, emitting no radar signature of its own, just a cold, dark shadow hugging the terrain. The Russian air defense network was actively scanning the skies, broadcasting thousands of watts of electromagnetic energy, essentially waving flashlights around a massive dark room, entirely unaware that the intruder was crawling along the floorboards directly beneath the beams. Suddenly, at 30 miles out from the port of Feodosia, the Storm Shadow had to make its final overland transition, a maneuver that forced it to briefly crest a coastal ridge. For 3 critical seconds, the missile lost its terrain masking and popped into the direct line of sight of a Panzer S-1 short-range air defense system guarding the harbor perimeter. The Russian radar locked the incoming threat, and the automated system instantly fired a pair of command-guided interceptors hurtling toward the cruise missile Mach 3. The geometry was violently stacked against the Storm Shadow, but the designers of the cruise missile knew this final gauntlet was inevitable. The moment the Russian radar spiked, the Storm Shadow executed a pre-programmed terminal evasion maneuver, a violent, high-G corkscrew dive designed to bleed energy from the defending interceptors. The Russian missiles, moving too fast to adjust to the sudden geometric shift, overshot the target by mere meters, detonating harmlessly in the night sky. The Panzer operator watched his scope in horror as the intercept tracks vanished, but the incoming target track stabilized, dropping even lower and accelerating straight toward the harbor. The second layer of defense had fired its best shot and completely missed. Now the missile was inside the absolute terminal zone, less than 10 miles from the massive hull of the Novocherkassk. At this range, GPS navigation is virtually useless due to heavy electronic warfare jamming blanketing the port. The Russians were flooding the satellite frequencies with so much broadband noise that any standard smart bomb would have steered itself blindly into the open water. But the Storm Shadow anticipated this electronic blackout. The missile dropped its aerodynamic nose cone, exposing a high-resolution infrared seeker head. It stopped listening to satellites and opened its own eyes. The weapon began comparing the thermal image of the dark harbor against a high-contrast target model stored in its memory core. It filtered out the cold concrete, ignored the smaller patrol boats, and locked its crosshairs onto the massive, heat-radiating silhouette of the 369-foot landing ship. Aboard the Novocherkassk, the crew had only seconds of warning as the final air raid sirens began to scream. A handful of sailors sprinted toward the deck-mounted anti-aircraft guns, desperately trying to put up a wall of lead, but it was like trying to stop a speeding freight train with a handful of pebbles. The infrared seeker had its target, and the massive cargo of explosives below deck was about to meet the spark it never wanted. The kinetic energy alone of a nearly 3,000-pound object slamming into the side of a ship at 600 miles per hour is enough to buckle steel bulkheads and crush internal compartments. But the Storm Shadow is not just a kinetic battering ram. It carries a two-stage tandem warhead known as the BROACH system. As the missile made physical contact with the outer hull of the Novocherkassk, the first sequence of this devastating mechanical ballet began. A precisely shaped precursor charge detonated a fraction of a millisecond before the main body hit. This initial blast acted like a giant superheated blowtorch, violently blasting a hole through the hardened naval steel of the ship's exterior armor. The sheer concussive force of this first detonation threw the defending gunners to the deck and ruptured the immediate outer compartments. But that was merely the door being kicked open. The primary penetrating warhead, encased in a hardened titanium shell, rode perfectly through the newly created breach, slipping past the outer armor and plunging deep into the belly of the vessel. The missile was now sitting directly inside the cargo hold, completely surrounded by thousands of Iranian drones and hundreds of tons of raw artillery propellant, waiting for the microsecond delay fuse to expire. When the microsecond delay fuse finally reached zero, the primary warhead of the Storm Shadow detonated deep inside the bowels of the Novocherkassk. Under normal circumstances, a hit of this magnitude would critically cripple a warship, tearing through bulkheads, snapping the keel, and causing massive flooding that would inevitably drag the vessel to the bottom of the harbor over several hours. But the Novocherkassk was not operating under normal circumstances. The explosive yield of the cruise missile was insignificant compared to what it had just awakened. The overpressure from the primary blast ripped through the tight confines of the cargo hold, instantly flash heating the compartment to several thousand degrees. Surrounding the epicenter were hundreds of tightly packed crates containing Iranian-made Shahed 136 drones, each packed with nearly 100 pounds of highly volatile explosive filler, sitting right next to pallets of Soviet-era artillery shells. The initial shockwave shattered the casings of the munitions, and the superheated thermal flash ignited the exposed propellant in a sympathetic detonation. A chain reaction that should have taken minutes to build instead happened in a fraction of a millisecond. The entire cargo manifest, hundreds of tons of high-yield destructive power meant to level Ukrainian cities over the course of a months-long campaign, realized its full energetic potential simultaneously inside a sealed metal box. The resulting explosion defied the structural limits of naval engineering. A 369-foot warship displacing over 4,000 tons does not just sink when subjected to that level of internal pressure. It violently ceases to exist. The heavy steel decking, designed to withstand the weight of main battle tanks, ballooned outward for a microsecond before instantly disintegrating into a cloud of molten shrapnel. A towering pillar of blinding white light punched upward into the freezing night sky, illuminating the entire coastline of the Crimean Peninsula like a second sunrise. This was not a standard fuel fire or a magazine cook-off. This was a catastrophic, uncontained deflagration that rapidly transformed into a searing orange fireball, twisting itself into a massive mushroom cloud that rose thousands of feet above the port of Feodosia. As the fireball expanded, it pushed a wall of compressed air outward at supersonic speeds. This invisible shockwave raced across the harbor, violently displacing the water and creating a localized tidal surge that slammed nearby vessels against their moorings. When the overpressure wave crossed the shoreline and hit the city infrastructure, The results were instantaneous. Within a 1-mile radius, commercial storefronts bowed inward, residential apartment windows completely shattered, and the heavy metal doors of port warehouses were ripped cleanly off their hinges. The blast wave turned a sleeping city into a disaster zone in less than 3 seconds. The sheer mechanical violence of the detonation did not merely sink the vessel. It turned the ship itself into thousands of unguided ballistic projectiles. Massive, jagged sections of the armored hull, engine blocks weighing several tons, and the charred remnants of the ship's superstructure were launched wildly into the atmosphere on the raw, kinetic energy of the blast. Seconds after the blinding flash, this terrifying metal rain began to fall back down onto the city and the surrounding waters. A massive chunk of the vessel's exterior plating, roughly the size of a commercial delivery truck, arced through the dark sky and slammed into the ground nearly 1 kilometer away from the blast epicenter, crushing a concrete barrier on impact. To achieve that kind of throw weight, the internal pressure of the explosion had to overcome not only the massive structural integrity of the ship, but also the crushing force of gravity on tons of solid steel. Smaller fragments of red-hot shrapnel showered the port facilities, igniting secondary fires among the cranes and storage yards that the frantic emergency response crews now had to fight. As the dawn began to break over the battered city of Feodosia, the thick black smoke finally started to clear, allowing both sides to assess the true scale of the devastation. Russian port authorities rushed to the pier expecting to find a severely damaged, burning wreck that would require months of salvage operations to clear from the valuable harbor space. When the Russian emergency crews finally reached the edge of the docking facility, they faced a visual contradiction that their minds struggled to process. They were prepared to deploy heavy salvage equipment to deal with a submerged, burning superstructure. They found nothing to salvage. The 369-foot warship was simply gone. If you look here at the high-resolution commercial satellite imagery taken the morning after the strike, the visual evidence is staggering. You do not see a listing hull or a sunken deck protruding from the shallow water. Instead, you see empty, dark green water lapping against a massive, blackened scorch mark permanently burned into the concrete pier. The sheer thermal and kinetic violence of the sympathetic detonation had literally vaporized the upper half of the vessel and drove the fragmented remains of the lower hull deep into the harbor mud. It was like a magician pulling away a massive tarp to reveal an empty stage, except the trick cost millions of dollars and left a crater in the ocean floor. The Russian authorities quickly issued a public statement claiming the ship had only been damaged and the attack had been repelled. But the satellite images completely dismantled that narrative in under 24 hours. You cannot claim minor damage when the entire asset has been erased from the face of the Earth. The strategic irony of this strike represents a masterclass in asymmetrical warfare. The Russian command had spent months carefully hoarding thousands of Shahed 136 drones inside the belly of that ship. At roughly $30,000 per airframe, that cargo represented tens of millions of dollars in highly capable loitering munitions, specifically staged to overwhelm Ukrainian air defenses through sheer numbers. They planned to launch a massive winter bombardment, drowning the enemy under a swarm of cheap explosives. Instead, the Ukrainians solved a massive mathematical problem with a single equation. By placing one cruise missile exactly where it needed to be, they turned the weapons system of the enemy against itself. The Russian military essentially paid to destroy its own premier landing ship. It is like a homeowner stockpiling thousands of gallons of gasoline in their living room to burn down the house of a neighbor, only for that neighbor to toss a single lit match through the front window. The Ukrainian forces did not have to intercept 2,000 individual drones in the freezing winter sky above their cities. They simply destroyed them all at the exact same time, while they were conveniently packed inside a very expensive, irreplaceable naval asset sitting perfectly still in a heavily guarded port. The total vaporization of the Novocherkassk forced a devastating realization upon the Russian Black Sea Fleet Command. The port of Feodosia, sitting deep behind multiple layers of supposedly impenetrable air defense networks, was suddenly classified as a lethal liability. The loss of a heavily armored landing ship is a brutal tactical blow, but the loss of the illusion of safety is a strategic catastrophe. Within 48 hours of the blinding flash that leveled the harbor, Russian commanders were forced into a humiliating retreat. Orders were rapidly dispatched, and surviving high-value naval assets frantically slipped their moorings, fleeing east toward safer waters closer to the Russian mainland. The Ukrainian military, operating without a conventional navy of its own, had successfully dictated the movements of one of the largest fleets in the region, using precise intelligence and absolute technological violence. The smoldering blackened concrete of the pier now stands as a permanent monument to a brutal new reality of modern warfare. A massive, heavily defended warship, carrying enough explosive power to terrorize an entire nation for months, was systematically hunted, perfectly targeted, and completely erased from the map in a single, earth-shattering moment of fire and ruin.